I'm gonna have to saw your arms off.
They'll grow back, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whew. At least we put this matter to bed. That's what she said. Or he said.
Computers don't make errors. What they do on purpose. By now, your name and particulars have been fed into every laptop, desktop, mainframe, and supermarket scanner that collectively make up the global information conspiracy, otherwise known as the Beast.
What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Wednesday. We have a lot to talk about. I think this is the first kind of Wednesday show I'm doing for the 2025 years 2025, and it's starting out kind of interesting already. On a personal note, it's been a very weird start to the year for me. Not a great one, but I'm not going to get into that right now, especially not on this show. But we have a lot to talk about, including the California fires. I want to get into some of this Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively fiasco drama because I've been following it really closely for a while and I have some thoughts on it. And I want to kind of break it down. I haven't had time to make videos because, as I said, I've been going through some personal stuff that has been keeping me from making videos, which I really wanted to. I wanted to make a lot of videos about this topic because I find it fascinating. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to break some stuff down, kind of go through some of the stuff that has kind of dropped already. And then just some other little things. If we have time, we'll get into it. But mainly the show is going to be focused on the whole Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively situation because it's fascinating to me. So we're going to start with that. Of course, the other news was that Justin Trudeau has finally resigned. And as some of my viewers know, I'm Canadian. I'm a Canadian expat that lives in Mexico. And I have thoughts on that as well. So we have quite a lot to talk about. So let's start by saying hello to everyone. What's going on? Darren, my mod extraordinaire, is in the chat, as well as Deranged Lunatic is here. We got Daniel, hello. And some other people, I'm sure, are in the chat. There's FKHC 2005. People are just rolling in. Greg was telling me that I misspelled burning in the title, which is true. I did misspell. How embarrassing. But I did do that. And hello, Rumble. We are live across Rumble as well. We're across all three platforms: Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter X, Twix. So if you're on any of them watching, hello to you. Please make sure you smash the like, share the stream, all the good stuff. A lot to talk about. Okay. I presumed someone named Braun. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty safe assumption. But I guess let's start with just quickly go over what happened with Justin Trudeau. So Justin Trudeau resigned as the party leader of Canada. The Liberal Party of Canada, I should say. Correct myself. In Canada, it's not like the States where, two people kind of, in the States, it's really weird because you guys have a two-party system, even though you have other parties that run, like the Green Party or like you have the Libertarian Party and blah, blah, blah. But usually those parties don't really count. It is between the Republicans and the Democrats. And then they have in a way, they have a party leader that they pick. So in their case, they've picked Donald Trump, and then the other side picked Kamala Harris, and then people vote for those two candidates. In Canada, it's a little different. In Canada, people vote for the party. So they vote for the Democratic, aka Liberal Party, or the Conservative Party, aka the Republicans. So in that, I'm just kind of breaking it down for if you're not familiar. That's how it works. But we also have in Canada other parties like the NDP, and they used to be very powerful. Right now, they're kind of on the outs. Their leader is not the best dude. He had very questionable policies during the COVID situation, and he was not doing well with regards to what the people want from the NDP. He's not like they're not doing well. So really, in reality, the next election is going to be between the Liberal Party again and the Conservatives. Most likely, the Conservatives are going to win, and their leader is Pierre Poilievre. So he is most likely going to become the prime minister, but we don't know because they still have to have an election, and they still have to vote in the leader of the Liberal Party. So Trudeau's replacement. So even though he's resigned, he's still not gone until the Liberal Party picks a party leader. And most people think that he's going to be replaced by that lady. God, I forget her name right now, which is terrible, but she is awful. Oh, God, I hope. Darren, you're in the chat. You're Canadian. You know who I'm talking about. Put the name in the chat so I know. You know who I'm talking about, the lady that she's going to be, they're thinking of replacing him with her. And she actually walked away from his administration, but they're thinking that they're going to vote her in as the party leader now. And she's one of the people who was the main kind of catalyst for a lot of the draconian laws that were passed in Canada, especially during COVID. And she was Freeland. That's right, Freeland. Her party, or she's not great. Thank you, chat. So that person might be the new party leader of the Liberal Party. Now, some people think that she'll actually become prime minister. I don't think so. I really don't, because people really dislike her. That's her. There she is. Freeland has called Trump a bully. She could be its next prime minister. I don't think so. I honestly don't. I think that the Canadian people are over the Liberal Party right now. I think they've kind of thank you, Darren. That's right. They're over her. She's awful, and rightly so. I mean, the party has the party has let the Canadian people down in a lot of ways. Now, the other guy, let me bring up the Conservative leader. I think his name is Pierre Poilievre. That's right. So Pierre Poilievre is this dude right here. He's a bit of a populist, if you will. I'm not a fan. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna straight up. I'm not a fan. I believe him to be a career politician. I think that he is not going to be good the way people think that he's going to be. And I just don't trust him. I personally do not trust him at all. I think that a lot of his policy, when COVID was happening, a lot of these people were either deathly silent, including him, or participated in draconian laws being passed in Canada, including what happened to the truckers. And he was one of them. So he was definitely not as vocal as most people wanted him to be during that time. But that's him right there. And a lot of people are thinking that he is going to be the next prime minister, and it's most likely going to be the case. Now, I personally think that he's not going to be what people think. I think a lot of people think that he's going to be like the Canada savior. I have doubts. I'm like, press X to doubt on this because, he's a politician. So he will say what he needs to say in order to get power. And then once he has the power, God knows what he's going to do with it. And a lot of people also, there's like this conspiracy theory that he is part of the WEF, like Trudeau was, World Economic Forum. He's kind of like the other side of the coin. So you want the front hand or you want the backhand. Either way, you're going to get slapped. So that is what is going on in Canada right now. They are still going to have an election. We will see what will happen. But I certainly don't have high hopes for that man. We will see what happens. The only thing that he will do that will be good for Canada, in my opinion, Poilievre, will be to rein in some of this high, like far leftist ideologies of, gender affirming care and like all that kind of stuff. So that stuff, I think he will definitely do something about. Other stuff, it's anybody's guess what's going to happen with that. It's going to be an interesting time for sure. I'm going to be definitely keeping close eye on it, but I'm black-pilled when it comes to politics, man. I don't think that anyone's going to do there. Nobody's going to be a savior. I really don't believe that. I don't think there's going to be a savior in politics. I also was laughing at our American friends. I know I have a lot of American audience here, and I love you guys. But this whole U.S. is going to have to make Canada their second, 52nd state. And y'all are being really ridiculous with this line of thought. We're different countries. Canada's a different country. We have different values. There's, I just think it's hilarious that a lot of America has been, in the past couple of years especially, has been about America first, MAGA, make America great again. And then there's all this talk on the side of let's bring in all these different countries and take them over and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, y'all, your country's burning down right now as we speak. As we speak, America's burning down. California's on fire. You guys have your own problems. Stop meddling in with everybody else's affairs, whether that's Canada, Greenland, UK, God knows where else. Fix your own houses. Literally, as I said, as we speak, California is burning down. It's very sad. I actually know people in that area that have lost homes. It is unreal. It's devastating. A lot of people have been completely devastated by what's happening. And my heart goes out to them. I mean, there's a lot of celebrities that have lost their homes as well. And that's really sad. But there's also a lot of regular people that have lost their homes. And that's incredibly upsetting. I mean, what can you say about something like that? DL is chiming in here for $1.99. Says that. So yeah, either way, Canada is getting a hand job. This one's going over my head, bro. Let's just go with yes. Why not? Why not? Yes. Okay. The roof is on fire. Okay, is that bad? That was in bad humor. Terrible. Who was that did that? Harmonica? Terrible. Oh no. Let's talk about these fires. So California is burning. It's bad. It's gotten real bad. I saw this earlier. That's an interview with James Woods. Let's listen to this for a moment.
We went out. I had a record of the call. In 17 minutes later, we were evacuated with the clothes on our back. Our garage door wouldn't open because the wind was so bright it torqued the door, and we finally got out.
Ooh.
When we got to the bottom of the hill, I said, oh my God, we have a neighbor who's 94 years old who has dementia.
That's
and I
so
said,
sad.
there were no cars on the driveway, and we would go over and help him get in his chair, sometime if he fell with the caregiver. But I knew he was in the hospital, and I don't know, God was on his side. I decided to call his son in Massachusetts and said, hey, Francis, just to be sure, your dad's still in the hospital, right?
Oh
He
my
said, no,
gosh.
he got home last night. And there's a new
Wow.
caregiver, and I don't have the number. And they wouldn't let us back up. So I finally got through to 911 and said, a welfare check, you got to go check on this guy. Well, there was a miscommunication. And I called my neighbor who hadn't evacuated yet. He was on his roof, fighting his fire. He'd been on my roof. He'd hosed my roof down. I said, go in and check on him. He went. He said, the door's open. There's nobody here. He went in and yelled. He said, no, nobody here. I said, look, just go behind the pantry. There's a little room we can see him during the day. He likes to sit there because there's a garden. He went in and found him. He'd been left alone. Okay.
Ugh,
And
that
it
is
turned out the
so
fire
sad.
department made the new caregiver leave. And, you know, she just does what she was told. They said, we're coming back for him. Well, they hadn't come back for him.
He
I'm
got lost in the
hoping that they
shuffle.
would have. But, you know, there was so much chaos.
That's
it was
so sad.
like an inferno. Every house was on fire around us. And, you know, he got him out and the house burned down about an hour later.
My
would have
God. At
been
least
in
they
there
saved his
alone. It was
life.
just-
Oh, poor James.
And then Robert called us and told us that that house had gone and the house below that and then the house on the other side. And then at 11:49 last night, all the smoke alarms in our house alerted our phones that our house that we had just renovated for
Oh
3
my
years
God.
and had just finally moved into about 3 months ago. You know, all the smoke alarms are going off, so that's hardly a good
Heartbreaking.
sign. So I'm not sure, but it wouldn't make any difference because, you know, the whole street's burned down. So I mean, even if you go back to your home, I posted this on X, but Sarah was on with her 8-year-old niece last night. And she came out. I'm sorry. Just, you know,
Oh,
one day you're
So
swimming in the
emotional.
pool and the next day it's all gone. But she came out with her little Yeti piggy bank for
oh,
us to rebuild our house.
Oh,
that's so sad.
oh my gosh. James Woods, we all hope that you will be able to rebuild your house, maybe starting with that little Yeti piggy bank. And we're just glad that you're okay and your wife is okay.
sorry,
You have your
I'm
lives.
usually-
Yeah, no, I mean,
thought-
this is
I thought-
real and it's
Talking about
raw.
I thought I
And
would
Amen.
be
you,
stronger than this. I
you
thought
don't
I'd be
you are,
stronger
you know
than this,
what?
but, you know,
It's strength is not measured by whether, you know, you hold in crying or not. Strength
That's right.
is what you are doing now and helping your neighbors and shining a light on the great, amazing work of all those firefighters and emergency crews out there.
Yeah, and they saved
You
somebody.
have
They're
so much
great.
strength, and
They're
we
great.
appreciate you coming on to reflect what so many others just like you are experiencing in that raw emotion right now. We wish you the best, you and your wife,
So
as you
sad.
rebuild your lives. So many people are doing that right now and trying to process what's going on. So, James, and also keep us posted on your 94-year-old neighbor and everything going there. We're going to continue to talk, and we wish you the very
he's
best.
okay. He's okay.
Yeah.
They found him. He's in the hospital.
Thank God.
He's okay. Yeah.
I just worry. If anybody knows where Robert Trinkteller is, you know, call me.
Yeah.
Let me know.
That is, you know what? That she did a really good job. That anchor was, I mean, yeah, it's CNN, but you know, she was empathetic and she didn't, you know, she really felt like it felt like she actually was, you know, empathetic to his plight, which is, I mean, just awful. I just saw this post from Paris Hilton, whose house also burnt down. Saying heartbroken beyond words, sitting with my family, watching the news and seeing our home in Malibu burn to the ground on live TV is something no one should ever have to experience. This home was where we built so many precious memories. It's where Phoenix took his first steps and where we dreamed of building a lifetime of memories with London. While the loss is overwhelming, I'm holding on to gratitude that my family is safe. My heart and prayers are going out to the sake of every family affected by these fires, to all the people who've lost their homes, their memories, and their beloved pets. My heartache for those still in harm's way or mounting greater losses. The devastation is unimaginable. To know so many are waking up today without a place they call home is truly heartbreaking. My 1111 Media Impact team is already reaching out to nonprofit organizations today to figure out how we can best support the communities impacted by these fires. We're committing to offering help as soon as possible and making a meaningful difference to those who need it the most. And I believe in Paris Hilton because she is very involved in community service and kind of doing that kind of stuff. So obviously she gives a shout out to the firefighters, but this is what she posted, and it's, I mean,
what are you seeing in that area?
look at what look at this place. I mean, this is California. That their homes are gone,
And obviously
all
poor
gone.
connections right now. Tony, can you hear us?
Devastating.
Okay.
Okay, I hear the producer. I do not. Okay, there we go. Having some
Their
Tony, now that
homes
we're
are
getting some
all gone. It's so sad. I just saw something Tim Pool posted of the devastation, like the aftermath. And I believe the fires are still going. I don't think they've even put out the fires completely yet. Let me X that out and show you this. I believe this is a real image of what's going on. Just gone. People's houses just gone. It's crazy. This is crazy stuff. So there you go. I mean, there was, DL said something interesting earlier in the chat about the firefighters getting like $17 million slashed from their budget, which is terrible. There's a lot of stuff going on. I believe the mayor of Los Angeles is out of the country right now. Like they were doing something completely different. Like they had gone to Ghana or something like that. Obviously Gavin Newsom's not been the best governor. And a lot of this kind of stuff could be avoided with forest management, managing the brushes, overgrowth. A lot of this kind of stuff can be it's very avoidable. Now the high winds are not avoidable because that's what happened. They had like high winds and then the winds would take the embers across wherever to wherever, and then they would land on these brushes or wherever. A lot of electrical fires, a lot of down power lines and things like that. And then they would continuously just kept on going, and it's still going. So it's devastating for a lot of people. Now, some people like Bernie Sanders are blaming climate change. I think that it does have some things to do with climate change, but when I say that, I don't mean like man-made climate change. In fact, what's the most man-made thing about the story is the, again, lack of inaction from the government, or lack of action from the government in terms of doing this kind of stuff, like forest management and all of that kind of stuff, slashing budgets from fire departments. These are the man-made factors of it. But when it comes to the winds, even though the Santa Ana winds happen all the time, sometimes to this extent in January, it's a little unheard of. Like I haven't heard, I've known people that lived in California for years and years and years. I'm very familiar with Santa Ana winds and very familiar with the climate over there. I think some of them was like the latest one that was really devastating was in October, but that's in October, not January. It's really I've never really heard it be this crazy in January before. And I think that that's part of the actual climate change that's happening, because climate change does occur because we're a planet and solar system that goes through cycles because we're rotating around the sun. So when we go through different places, we have different weather patterns. And so these kind of things happen. And it's supposed to be that the governments are prepared for these kind of things that happen. But in this case, California is not prepared, and therefore they're suffering big time. And it's really sad, man. I think, again, I think this all could have been avoided had the governments actually been on it and really care about what's happening over there. I don't think many people do within government. Like I saw this thing about, I think it was Bernie Sanders that tweeted out about the climate change, and everybody was like, "Fuck you, Bernie." Let me see if I can pull that up. Because most people, when they hear climate change, they think man-made climate change, like man-made global warming, and that stuff is dumb. But climate change certainly does happen. There we go. So it says Bernie Sanders here saying 80,000 people have been told to evacuate. Blazes at 0% contained. 8 months since the area has seen rain. The scale of the damage and loss is unimaginable. Climate change is real, not a hoax. Man-made climate change is a hoax. Donald Trump must treat this like an existential crisis. It is. Bernie, dear, last time I checked, Donald Trump has not been sworn yet. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This has to do with Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and the current administration, which last I checked is still Biden. So Biden is supposed to be doing something about this, or Kamala Harris as the vice president should be doing something about this, not Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump is coming in to become president, and yes, he should definitely, get on it with this kind of stuff, but it's not really his job at the moment. It's still not. Why are we blaming Trump on this? This is insane. I mean, look at this fire. We can't be blaming Donald Trump for shit that the sitting administration should be doing. There we go. Riley Gaines. I know you're old, but Donald Trump isn't president yet. Exactly. Like where is the accountability for the current administration? This should not be happening again. I mean, this is like the second or third time that this is happening. I mean, this happened like a couple of months ago in the summer, like last year. It happened again. I think it was like a huge, massive fire, and they were like, "Oh my God, like, California is so mismanaged. There's no brush fire. There's no forest clearing. There's no deforesting. Like all this stuff." Nothing's happening over there, and then they just keep expecting, like they keep doing the same thing or not doing anything and expecting a different result. I mean, that's a definition of insanity, man. You can't keep doing the same shit and then think, oh, we're just gonna be fine. Let's just blame Donald Trump or just pretend this is climate change hoax. Like what? Take some action. This is why I'm very black-pilled where it comes to politicians, because they're fucking retarded most of the time. It's very frustrating, people. It's very frustrating. There was something somebody said in the chat that was very well put. Colorado Mountain 1222 says Marshall Fire in Colorado was also in January. It was really wild. So sorry for Los Angeles. Yeah, this is it's always really, really hard. And then he went on to say, we had an ice age, and an ice age receded as natural climate change fluctuation. Exactly. This is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to climate change. You get it. You get it. I mean, if you guys don't understand, I highly recommend reading a book by Victor Klub called The Cosmic Winter. I will bring it up. This is the book here. And then you will understand what natural climate change is. Here it is. Get this book. The Cosmic Winter by Victor Klub. And you will understand climate change is a serious thing, and our Earth goes through that all the time. But our responses to it, that's a whole different story. Like, let's blame some freaking guy that's not even president yet. So yeah, crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff going on. A lot of people have a lot to answer for. I mean, I heard, there's just so many people that have lost homes. I mean, all these celebrities have lost homes, but like I said, I know people personally that have lost homes now. It's kind of crazy. It's devastating. Now, with that said, we talked about Trudeau. We talked about California fires. Now we're going to talk about another fire, and that is the burning of Blake Lively's career. I mean, it's nuts. Now, what I find fascinating about the story is that there's so many elements of narcissism involved in it. And I'm always fascinated by psychology. I think there's a lot of issues when it comes to power dynamics, when it comes to narcissists with power dynamics. I think there is definitely multiple narcissists involved in this scenario, including Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Justin Baldoni himself, and everyone involved in their PR firms, because you have to be a little bit narcissistic to even want to work for a PR firm. PR firms are the worst of the worst. I mean, these are terrible people. They're not the best of the flock when it comes to humanity. So when it's this kind of story drops and you're thinking to yourself, well, I mean, who's guilty? Who's guilty of what? Like you're trying to figure it out. There's been a lot of accusations being made. And right now, as I'm watching this story get uncovered more and more and more, and as more facts come to life with each discovery from the lawsuits, what's clear to me more than ever is that all of the parties involved are guilty to some extent, and mostly guilty of being unbelievable narcissists to varying degrees. And I think that mainly Blake Lively is guilty of that. And I think that the media and the response of the media going into overdrive to cover for Blake Lively is really, really familiar and reminiscent of what happened with Amber Heard. And Amber Heard, her story is kind of like an example of what a female narcissist is capable of doing. And the fact that at some point you have to kind of sit down and take all of the information and be like, okay, who is the most likely person that is at fault? I mean, everybody has fault to varying degrees, but who is the one that seems to be the centerpiece of this scenario? And in this case, every time I'm like reading about all these lawsuits, reading about all this information, and knowing the things that I've known about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds in the past, it just comes back around and around that Blake seems to be a very dishonest person. And we're just going to get to talk about some of this stuff. I feel like Blake Lively has a lot to answer for. And the media has gone into overdrive trying to cover for her and being like, well, I mean, you can't question her because you're sexist. I mean, you're victim blaming. You're victim shaming because she went and went and said that he's done sexual abuse to her. And now you're if you question that, then you're a sexist and you're a terrible person. Anoini Moo says, I came, I liked, now I'm out. Later. Bye. Thanks for dropping. Thanks for dropping by. Cool comment. Make sure you smash the like on your way out. Thank you. There's no poop involved yet in the story. But you never know what's next because there's a lot that has happened. So let's kind of start from the beginning, okay? Because I'm sure some of you are like, well, I don't even know what's going on. I mean, there's just so much info. And you know what? You're right. There's a lot of info. And that's what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go through a lot of this info. Let's kind of unpack all of this together. So get comfy, grab a drink, grab a tea. We're going to be talking a lot about this case. What's going on, man? We got to get to the bottom of this. Who is guilty? Who is not? And maybe you guys will disagree with me. Maybe you'll be like, you know what? That Justin Baldoni guy seems like a piece of shit, and he should be sued to oblivion. Or maybe you won't. Maybe you'll be like, you know what? No, I don't agree. I do agree with you. I think Blake Lively is questionable. So let's start with this. From People Magazine saying, the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit explained in a complete breakdown of the allegations, key players, and who said what. Now, I like this thing because I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual and audio learner. And I like graphs and stuff. So this thing has like this kind of graph in here where it kind of talks about the key players. So let's kind of go over the key players and then we'll go over exactly what is happening, okay? So the key players here are Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively is the start of It Ends With Us. That is the movie that is at the heart of all of this. Suing Baldoni, alleging that he sexually harassed her and retaliated against her by trying to destroy her reputation. Justin Baldoni is on this side. The director and co-star denies the allegations and plans countersuits, claiming that Lively wanted control of the movie and is trying to smear him. Okay, so we got two different stories here. Then you got who else is involved. So on Blake's side, you got obviously Ryan Reynolds, her husband. Lively's husband supported her at an all-hands set meeting. Baldoni alleges that the actor betrayed him. Now, there's a lot more. This is like a very basic description of what's going on with Ryan Reynolds. But Ryan Reynolds is involved. Is definitely involved. This is Colleen Hoover. She's the author of the book that sold Baldoni the rights to her bestseller. So she sold It Ends With Us, the rights to this movie, to Justin Baldoni. Okay? Now she backs Lively as nothing but honest, kind of supportive. She's like saying, I support all women and la-di-da-di-da. Because you know how they have to be. You got to support women. On this side, you got Jamie Heath. On Justin Baldoni's side, Jamie Heath. Lively accuses Baldoni's producing partner of repeated sexual harassment and disturbing behavior, which he disputes. So remember this guy. Then you got Steve Sarowitz, who Lively claims that the billionaire backing Baldoni's company, Wayfarer, is prepared to spend $100 million to bring her down. So she believes that this guy is all in, I want to destroy this bitch. Let's go. So we'll get into this a little bit more in a minute. Then you got the co-stars taking sides. You have Jenny Slate, Brandon Sklenar, and Isabella Ferrer taking Lively's side, Blake's side. We got to support a girl. A lot of women have been coming out in her support, just like they did for who was this other person that they did this for? Really, a lot of support went her way when this all started happening, and then there was a lawsuit, and then she went on TV, she cried, she put on a fucking show, and then everybody was like, ooh, maybe she was lying. Maybe she was lying. That's right. That's right. The chat already knows who I'm talking about. Was it a turd? Is a turd by any other name still a turd? So a lot of same dynamics at play, right? A lot of same dynamics. People taking sides. Then you got Hassan Minhaj. Hassan Minhaj, saying the comedian said he was unaware of any set issues and he presented a since rescinded award to Baldoni in December for advocating for women. Now that's the other thing. So a lot of people don't like Justin Baldoni because he's apparently a male feminist, which is kind of humorous in some ways if you really think about it, because you have a male feminist here that's making a movie about a book about women being abused, because the book is about an abusive relationship. And so he's making this movie because he really cares about the plight of women, apparently. And then he gets into a beef with his main star, who is apparently, or allegedly, a fucking female narcissist. So it's kind of funny to kind of think about how this guy's going out of his way to be like, oh, I'm going to stand up for you women. And then this chick's like, I don't know. I don't know if you want to stand up for me, but anyways. So then you have the crew. And by the crew, I mean the publicists, because these motherfuckers, I mean, I don't feel sorry for any of these people because I feel like they're all terrible. Like I said, publicists, celebrity publicists, and managers, and all of these people, like this crowd, these are the worst of the worst people. Just, below them is basically the paparazzi. Just awful people. So you got Leslie Sloan on the side. Baldoni claims that Lively's rep launched a negative press push against him. She says that she didn't plant stories. Then you got Stephanie Jones, Abel's former. Oh, wait, well, let's go over here. So you got Jennifer Abel. So Jennifer Abel's Baldoni's PR rep wrote, "There was no smear implemented, though it's our job to be ready for any scenario." Then you got Melissa Nathan, the crisis PR expert hired by Baldoni, alleged texts that we can bury anyone. That's the famous line that's been going around. She says messages were altered and out of context, which we're going to get into this because Megyn Kelly did an interview with Justin Baldoni's lawyer, and I got those clips ready to go. I got those videos ready to go. We're going to go through that and hear the man speak about these lawsuits and these alleged texts, what's been left out of the responses because, Blake sued. She came out with her version of discovery, and then Justin countersued and came out with his version of, oh, well, look at these doctor texts and stuff. So we're going to go through some of those. Then you got Stephanie Jones, Abel's former boss, is now suing her. Her PR firm provided Abel's texts when subpoenaed. So this woman is suing her in a separate lawsuit, but also connected to the story. Crazy stuff. Then you got celebrity mentions, which, like, who gives a fuck? Again, most people are like getting involved in one way or another, like being like, I support Blake. Because, I mean, obviously, like, Taylor Swift is really good friends with Blake Lively. Obviously, she's going to support her girl. Is that a shock to anybody? No. They're best friends. Of course, she's going to do that. Hailey Bieber saying this is what we would need. Baldoni alleged text his PR team, pointing to social media posts calling Bieber a bully. Then you got Scooter Braun saying the music exec who battled Swift is reportedly a majority stakeholder in the company behind Nathan's crisis PR team. So here are some of the main players that you're going to be hearing the names of throughout tonight's show, because we're going to be hearing about, like I said, we're going to hear Justin Baldoni's lawyer interview with Megyn Kelly. He's going to be mentioning a lot of these people, including mostly this woman, Jennifer Abel, Leslie Sohn, and these people. Just remember all of these people. So what exactly has happened? Let me go back up to this so I can kind of read you exactly what's been going on. So Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have engaged in a war of words and lawsuits surrounding Baldoni's alleged misconduct on the set of the 2024 hit film It Ends With Us. I don't know if I would call it a hit. I feel like that's a little bit of an exaggeration there. I don't know if it's a hit. Are we considering this a hit? On December 20th, by the way, let me just also say this. I have not watched the movie. I was kind of curious to watch the movie. And then all this stuff happened. And I was like, I don't really want to watch a movie about abuse when there's actually abuse happening on the set. Like, what is this? Is this supposed to be a documentary? And I heard from some of my close friends who read the book and watched the movie and said that the book or the movie was horrible. Like, basically told me to read the book instead. And I find that funny because one of the arguments within this whole scenario from Baldoni and his lawyer are that apparently Blake Lively didn't even read the book. So that was one of the problems with her, was that she had never read the book, so she didn't know what she was doing, and she wanted to make all these changes to the script based on the fact that she hadn't read the book, and she just wanted to kind of put her own voice in. And so apparently doing that has caused the movie to suffer incredibly in terms of artistic like that. I mean, that's really where their artistic differences comes into play. The fact that she hasn't read the source material, which is kind of funny. On December 20th, Lively, who stars in the movie as Lily, filed a complaint against Baldoni and others in California, claiming sexual harassment and an alleged retaliatory public smear campaign to destroy her reputation. She claimed that Baldoni, who directed, produced, and starred in the film, exhibited disturbing and unprofessional behavior on set that led to a hostile work environment. The complaint was also filed against producer Jamie Heath, which we now know who the guy was, Heath and Baldoni's production company, Wayfair Studios, as well as the co-founder, Steve Sarowitz, which you guys now know who these people are. Jed Wallace, an independent contractor, was also named in the filing, as well as Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, who are both publicists named in the alleged effort to harm Lively's reputation. I hope that by legal action helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct and helps protect others who may be targeted, Lively said in a statement to the New York Times, who is also being sued by Justin Baldoni because they apparently released a piece very close to what happened with him suing her. Like, he sued her. There was all this information, and then she sued him. There was all this information that came out through her discovery and stuff. The New York Times wrote a piece about it. Baldoni didn't like the piece and said that they had basically not confirmed with him if any of the stuff was lies or deceit or whatever. And according to him, it was all a lot of lies. And therefore, the New York Times didn't do their journalistic duty to follow up on the story. And so he's suing them for, I believe, like $250 million or something like that, which is another crazy amount of money and another crazy lawsuit. Brian Friedman, Baldoni's lawyer, told People in a statement that Lively's complaint was to fix her negative reputation, adding that her alleged her allegations are false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt. So there we go. The day after the filing, the investigation was reported in a New York Times story titled "We Can Bury Anyone Inside Hollywood's Smear Machine." Shortly after Baldoni filed his lawsuit on December 31st, suing the outlet for $250 million, like I said, alleging libel, false light, invasions of privacy, promissory fraud, and breach of implied in fact contract. The New York Times defended its story, writing in a statement that the article was meticulously responsibly reported. I press X to doubt on this one too, like for me anyways, because it's like the New York Times, I mean, they suck. They are no longer the New York Times that they used to be. What's up, Tom B? Thanks for the raid. Doing all right. Just doing this crazy story covering. Welcome the Tomby Raiders and Tomby people of Tomby people. Thank you. Just make sure you smash the like if you're enjoying the content. A number of Lively's peers and co-stars have spoken out in support of the actress, while Baldoni's team continues to deny the accusations. Here's a complete breakdown of which we just went through. So then, what did Blake Lively accuse Justin of? So here we go. In her complaint, which was followed by a formal lawsuit filed in New York on December 31st, Lively alleges that Baldoni and Heath's behavior on set, followed by an allegation of smear campaign, caused her grief, fear, trauma, and extreme anxiety per the filing. The actress alleges that the complaint that before the adaptation of Colleen Hoover's novel of the same name even began shooting, Baldoni inserted improvised gratuitous sexual content and or scenes involving nudity into the film, including for an underage character in highly unsettling ways. Okay, this is like a huge alleged thing. Some people have broken this down. Ariadna, I think that's her name, Ariadna Jacobs. She's broken down a lot of this stuff, and it was really fascinating. Definitely check out her channel for some of this coverage about the details of this. The disturbing conduct allegedly continuing while filming while Lively accusing Baldoni and Heath of entering her trailer uninvited while she was undressed or vulnerable, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child. The complaint alleges. The complaint further states that Baldoni improvised physical intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Miss Lively, with no intimacy coordinator involved. Again, all of this stuff is being rebuked by the Baldoni side, which we're going to get into. But long story short, they're saying that didn't happen. Like, Blake Lively invited him to the trailer and said, I'm pumping, come and hang out, and like we can go over the scenes. Obviously, her part doesn't go into the fact that Ryan Reynolds ended up being the intimacy coordinator on the set, and that he started to change the script. So he was directly involved as well. A lot of stuff is going on with this that obviously Blake has kept out of her lawsuit. Lively alleges that a meeting was held with Baldoni, Heath, and other producers, with her husband Ryan Reynolds present as well, where they hashed out a plan to improve working conditions on the set. Some of the key points Baldoni agreed to, according to the filing, an intimacy coordinator on set when Lively was present, no improvised kissing, and no more talk of his own sex life or genitalia. What the fuck? Because, I mean, a lot of the stuff, again, he argues that this is a lot of this talk was basically kind of getting to know each other and character work. And they are doing a relationship story about sex and, toxic relationships and toxic, that kind of the abuse within a relationship. So they've obviously had to talk about intimate details about certain things. And Blake has taken those very badly in these conversations. That's his argument. Following the wrap of the movie, Lively claimed that Baldoni and his PR team launched a public smear campaign against her, including screenshots of alleged text messages between Baldoni, Abel, his publicist, and Nathan, a crisis manager expert. Baldoni's lawyer Friedman said in a statement that representatives of Wayfair Studios did nothing proactive nor retailed and only responded to incoming media inquiries to ensure balanced and factual reporting and monitoring social activity. So, now that you guys have gotten a lowdown on kind of what is going on and what has Blake been alleging, we can go into some of the accusations and how the lawyer has been kind of debunking these things, along with, what he says are receipts. So let's kind of get into this here. But you know what? Before we do, there's one thing I want to add, and we'll kind of get into this first, actually. So before we get into the lawyer's statements with Megyn Kelly, there was another woman that was involved in this situation, and I thought this was really interesting because at the time, this stuff was just kind of surfacing when this dropped, but this was really interesting. So it says in an alleged leaked audio. Oh wait, no, this is not it. We'll get to that one. This was the other one that I wanted to cover. Hang on. Blank that out of your head. That didn't happen. There it is. Journalist who went viral for criticizing Blake Lively denies being part of Justin Baldoni's alleged smear campaign. I would never do that. So that's this woman here. And I don't know if you guys remember or not, but several months ago, when this stuff was just beginning to surface, it was just beginning to be a thing, this woman dropped an interview she did from Blake from way back in the day. And it wasn't a good interview. And it made Blake like shit. And people were like, whoa, why is Blake such a bully? Oh my God, Blake does not come off great in this interview. And just so you guys can kind of remember what that interview was, let me refresh your memory. Because you might be like, what are you talking about? That's this interview here, which has been viewed, I think 6.2 million views on this video. And this was a 4-minute interview by this woman of Blake Lively and this woman who is incredibly either drunk or high or both, and incredibly rude to the interviewer. I forget this lady's name. But they were both very rude. So here is that interview just for a minute.
Bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump? You've got two nice ones.
So she basically congratulated Blake on her little bump, referring to her pregnancy bump. And Blake didn't like that very much. So she was like, congratulations on your little bump.
That's on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
And then this bitch is like,
You've got
"I'm
two nice
drunk."
ones. And these, they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it
Okay.
out.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
You
then
like the movie? Are you a Woody Allen fan?
I love most of his movies, and this one was so like.
we're not going to watch this whole thing again, but she's basically, I mean, Blake is a total bitch, this woman, throughout the interview. And she's not the first to be complaining about Blake Lively's behavior. She's not the first person to have called out Blake Lively on being a total bitch. So after this happened, these people, Blake Lively's team, are like basically spreading this kind of conspiracy theory that this woman was teaming up with Baldoni's PR team to screw over Blake Lively. And so this woman actually put out a response video to all these allegations of them they're alleging that she was working with her or his PR team to make her look bad through this clip. So let's have a listen to what she's had to say about it.
I would never accept money to jeopardize my integrity as a journalist.
I mean, that's kind of a funny statement because we all know, I mean, it depends like how much money you get. I don't know if I believe that, but we'll just take her word for it.
Hi, and welcome to Closing Talk. I'm Sensitive Flo, and here on my channel, I talk about my good and bad experiences with celebrities.
Yes, Parker Posey is that woman's name that I was like, I don't remember her name, but she was drunk and high. That was her.
And about hypocrisy in Hollywood and working as an entertainment reporter. So this morning, I read an article in the New York Times stating that Blake Lively is suing Justin Baldoni over sexual harassment. The claim accuses Justin Baldoni of orchestrating a smear campaign against Blake Lively. The article also mentions my interview with Blake Lively. And some people,
yeah, so that's the one what we just saw,
have started these conspiracies that somehow I am connected to the PR campaign against
some people. Okay, and some people, in my humble opinion, are Blake Lively's PR team. I believe those are the some people.
Blake Lively. That is not true. Okay, I just want to put that out there because I am a journalist. This is what I do for a living. I would never accept money to jeopardize my integrity as a journalist. I see how people are trying to make a connection here that I've been working with Justin Baldoni's PR company because it was like, it's just too much of a coincidence that my video was posted at that time. And as I've said before, I posted the video after I had seen the movie. I have to say that I watched the movie. I didn't like it. Honestly, I didn't like the movie. And I had a bad experience with Blake Lively. And at that time, I was like, I've kind of had enough of Hollywood. So I wasn't that afraid of being canceled anymore. So I decided to post the video.
She got some
I did
courage.
not know about the controversy around Blake Lively and the PR campaign for the film. I hadn't been following that at all. I just came back from a vacation in Europe. I'd been traveling for 6 weeks. So I wasn't up to date at all. But when my video came out, it added fuel to the fire against Blake Lively. My video speaks for itself. If you ask me, I just posted, this is what happened. There's no context around it. It was just like me and her and Parker Posey. I tried to interview them. It wasn't a great interview experience.
And in that sense, I agree with her. I believe that the interview speaks for itself. Now, regardless of whether you believe that she was in on it with Justin Baldoni or not, it was certainly something that did not make Blake Lively look good. Now, I don't think that she did it on purpose. I personally don't think that she was in on it with Justin Baldoni. But the interview did speak for itself, and it made those two women look awful. Both Blake and the other drunk co-star looked awful in that interview. They just looked like they were terrible people and they were mistreating this woman. And I think that kind of speaks for itself. Like Blake's character came through at that interview. And it's not the first time that Blake Lively has been accused of being a total bitch. She's had previously problems with her most famous co-star, Leighton Meester, who was her co-star in Gossip Girl, which is what was the show that set off Blake's career. She's had major problems with what's her name, Anna Kendrick, and on the set of their movie, I think it's called A Simple Life, or what was it called? Anna Kendrick. It was called A Simple Favor. They famously had a huge dispute that apparently they've resolved because there's a second movie coming out now. But for a long time, they weren't on speaking terms. And so they all have also had a beef, which they've resolved since then. The guy from Deadpool had a very bad beef with Ryan Reynolds, who also recently came out and said, "Oh, we've quashed the beef, guys, because of all the stuff that's going on right now." I'm guessing they're going into overdrive to try and fix some of this character reputation that has gone completely down the drain for the couple, because they have been Hollywood kind of big what's it called, like power couples for a long, long time. And a lot of people were, oh, they're the best. And now it's starting to kind of seem like they're not the best and they're kind of awful people. Nina, please advise us men. Should we congratulate women on their bump and say bump? I think if you're going to congratulate someone on any bump, you better be sure as hell they're pregnant, because you don't want that. You don't want to pull a Kramer and and then, like, comment on somebody's bump and then they're not pregnant, and then you're like, oh no, I just called this chick fat. So I don't see a problem with men or women saying anything like this, or like, congratulations on your bump. I would say congratulations on your pregnancy, or congratulations on the new bundle of joy or something like that, because bump might sound I don't know, maybe people will be triggered by that because they think you're calling them fat. But I mean, obviously, it's I don't think there's a problem. Most normal people will be like, oh, thank you. Yes. But the normal reaction usually to being congratulated on being pregnant is, oh, thanks. Like, they go and like cover their belly and they're like, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we're expecting, and like blah blah blah. Like, that kind of thing. Not like, congratulations on your bump. That's not the kind of response you want to get. See, there you go, Darren. Just make sure they're preggers. Exactly. You. I remember that Seinfeld. See, there you go. I mean, I think that was a great joke. It was a good joke. But so this woman is like basically claiming, like, guys, I have nothing to do with Justin Baldoni's fucking PR team. And I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. Now, I'm wondering in the chat so far, from all the stuff that you've heard, do you believe this lady? Like, do you think that this lady was in on it with Justin Baldoni's PR team, or do you think that she wasn't? Like, do you think it just happens to be a coincidence that she puts out one of the most damaging interviews to Blake's image just around the same time that, like, she's getting into this huge beef with Justin Baldoni? One's in the chat if you think she's in on it with Justin, and two, if you think, hey, Blake did Blake, that video spoke for itself, and that's why people hate her. So one, if you think this lady's in on it, I'd like to get kind of a gauge of where the chat's at. You guys think she's in on it? One, oh, Beep Bop Boop says 1 and 2. Okay, so like she's in on it, but also the video did the damage. So like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B thing. Okay, that I could see that. We got a bunch of 2s, DL saying 3 because DL can't follow directions apparently. A retro gamer says, of course she's in on it. Thunderstorm is saying 10. Guys, you're not following directions. Okay, so we kind of got a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So that didn't give me anything. I'm like, okay. All right, carrying on with the rest. So we're going to get into some other people that worked with Blake in a little bit later. Hold on. Oops, I just closed something. Let's see here. Oh, okay, we got that one. Okay, so we talked about this woman and her thing. Her DL says I could have said 69. Oh, geez. So let's get into some of these comments that now have been made from the lawyer to Megyn Kelly. And then we'll get into some of these other allegations that are being told by other people. Other people are chiming in and being like, hey, I know Blake and she's kind of a bitch. So we're going to get into that too. So here we go. This is one of the first interviews. Here we go. It says, new details about publicist PR war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
Misrepresented some of the texts amongst these two gals. There is one in the Blake Lively lawsuit, and it quotes a Daily Mail headline from August of 24. And this is Blake's lawsuit in paragraph 23. On August 16th, Miss Nathan circulated a Daily Mail article entitled, "Is Blake Lively set to be canceled? String of hard to watch videos that have surfaced following tone-deaf Q&A to promote It Ends With Us could tarnish her golden Hollywood image for good." To which Miss Abel, she was the other PR person, responded, speaking to Miss Nathan, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece." And Miss Nathan replied, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." Now, this was in the New York Times. And when I read it, I was like, they've got them dead to rights. There's these two PR hacks sitting there saying like,
yeah, like when you're reading that and you kind of like, you're just like, oh, on face value. Like if you take them at face value, you're like, ooh, that sounds bad. That sounds like they did try to do some sort of smear campaign against this woman. But then things start getting a little complicated.
Planted this Daily Mail piece saying she's going to be canceled. She's a bad person. And they're celebrating it.
Mm-hmm.
And in your lawsuit against the New York Times.
And again, all these people are awful because they're publicists. So they're just awful people anyway.
You offer up the rest of that text exchange.
Oh.
And I don't just mean what follows, like in a line or two. Right after, on the same line as the lines that are quoted in the lawsuit, in the complaint, and in the Times, there is, for example, the sarcasm emoji, and more importantly, an explicit denial by Melissa Nathan as she writes this, that it wasn't her. So what the full text exchange that you've offered now shows is Jen Abel saying to Melissa, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece," with the sarcasm emoji, which is an upside down smiley face. They took out the sarcasm emoji in the New York Times. Then Melissa responds, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." They remove the next part where she says, "Heading to the airport and there's a drive through the jungle that there's going to be no reception around for 24 hours, joke, 45 minutes. And there's a response about that joke. And then Nathan says, same date, August 16th, "Damn, this is unfair because it's also not me. Everything now looks like it's me. Maybe not to you. And Jen Abel responds, no, it totally does look like his side, but they are saying to one another, but it's not us. So, I mean, the full context and text, Brian, of the full exchange shows these two PR agents saying, she's getting hit. You know, I know you think it's me. It's not me.
But I didn't do it.
It's actually worse than that, because the first text in that whole chain is a reporter who is saying to Melissa Nathan, is showing her the article for the first time. You can tell that this is the first time that Melissa Nathan sees the article. She says, what? Blake Lively could Blake Lively be canceled? I mean, she's seeing it for the first time and saying, wow, I mean, this looks like it's me, but this is not me. And you can tell that this is the first time Melissa Nathan has learned about this. She forwards that piece with the reporter to Jen Abel. So Jen Abel knows that Melissa Nathan is learning about it for the first time. She knows she's saying, this isn't me. She knows that she doesn't want this to be her, and that's not what they're trying to do. And she sends it to Jen Abel, and Jen Abel looks at it and makes a joke, and you know, with an upside down emoji that's sarcasm. They remove the emoji. They remove the piece about the reporter showing that Melissa saw it for the first time then, and obviously couldn't be a part of it. And they remove the rest of the text messages showing that they're joking around. I mean,
see, and that to me makes it like, what do you got to hide? And why are you doctoring text? Because if you have the truth on your side, if Blake Lively is a wonderful woman and she's being abused by this fucking piece of shit asshole, why do you need to go and doctor texts? Why not just tell the truth? And this is where everything starts to become muddy, right? Because once you tell a little lie, once you tell a tiny little lie, doesn't it mean that you've told about lies about other things? Like, what other things have you lied about? The trust starts to become less and less and less. And this is kind of how it started with Amber Heard. You kind of started, she was telling so many stories that at one point you're like, wait a minute, wasn't this story like something else? Like you said this thing, and then you said this thing, and then it started to just all unravel slowly and slowly as more information came out and more information came out. She couldn't keep up with the lies of that she was telling everybody. And so she unraveled in the lawsuit, in the court, and we all saw it. And everybody was like shocked because they were like, I mean, she's an actress and she couldn't pull off those crocodile tears. Because at that point, everybody was like over it. Everybody was like, you are done, lady. You are done. We're done listening to your lies, because she lied so many times. So now it's the same thing with Blake. How many lies is Blake Lively spitting? And how much of that is being spun also by her husband, Ryan Reynolds, who is very powerful in Hollywood? So who's more likely telling the truth in this scenario? I don't know. We still got a lot of stuff to cover. So let's keep going.
It's absolutely appalling what they did. And if the New York Times is correct by their own response, we've done, incredible reporting. We've done complete and accurate reporting. We've reviewed thousands of pages of text messages and documents and other things. And, and we stand by our story. Really? Well, if you really reviewed these, then you would have reviewed those text messages, and you would have known, or should have known, that this was actually all.
And I mean, like, can we just all call a spade a spade? The New York Times sucks. I mean, obviously they didn't read through the damn thing. They're awful. I don't believe them when they said, oh yeah, like we did our journalistic integrity. We did our job. Yeah, you're fucking right. Yeah, right.
Satire, and that Melissa Nathan could have never planted that story because she didn't know about the story, and she learned about it for the first time from the reporter and denied it right away. And there's a plethora of text messages throughout saying this is not what they want to do. And Justin instructing them, we're not planting stories, we're not using bots, none of that.
Okay, but I grant you all of that. And it seems very clear that Blake Lively's legal team made some very critical material omissions
Mm-hmm.
in their complaint. And so did the Times, which is not okay. But if you look at the complaint, and again, these are just allegations, and now you get the chance to deny them or respond to them. It doesn't sound good. The PR people talking about, Blake and Justin, Justin looking for assurances. He wants to be calmed down, that they have a plan to fight back if, she does come out against him, that he didn't feel good about the document they sent over, and he wants to feel better. And then I'm just trying to pull up some of them. There's some here's Jen Abel saying to Melissa Nathan, I'm having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with, just to get ahead of it. She's putting us through hell. Melissa Nathan, same.
That's kind of like what
Am I already
do, though, just
off the record?
speaking.
Spoke to the editor of the Daily Mail because she's my friend. She's ready when we are, says Melissa Nathan. Jennifer Abel, I think we really need to put the social combat plan then into motion. Melissa Nathan, so do I. Let's see. That's one representative. I'll get to some others, but they seem pretty explicit in their discussion about how it's time. Let's get her.
Sure. And I think, we all need to understand what crisis PR is about, right?
Yeah.
So they give options and they provide options of how they can clarify things, how they can, correct things, how they can change things, how they can put things out there that are true and positive about someone. It's the difference here is that Justin never authorized anything. And actually, there's nothing that was done that was nefarious or in any way was any type of smear campaign. And in fact, it's just the opposite. I mean, you would expect someone who's actually worried about himself, worried about the film, frankly, worried about Blake Lively's own reputation and the effect on the film, to be prepared, to have someone just in case something comes out that is negative about them, it is negative about the film or anything else. It's not it's all a part of Hollywood. Everyone has a PR team that they can bring in that might help that. The question isn't whether, someone came in and said, we have options. The question is, was anything done that was untoward or were articles placed or anything else? And what you see in the complaint, if you carefully look at it, the only article that they even claim that was placed was this one article, is Blake Lively about to be canceled? And there's unequivocal proof in there. There are text messages that were left out of the complaint purposely, that were left out of the New York Times article purposely, that completely refute that either Melissa, Jen, or anyone else, Justin, had anything to do with planting that story or even knowing about that story before they learned about it. So
see, this is my problem, because it's one thing for the PR hacks to sit around saying, this is how we'll get her. You've hired us to advise you. If we need to get her, if she unleashes the hounds against you, this is what we'll do. That is one thing. And it is quite another to prove then they actually did it. And I have to say that I say this not just because I'm your friend. I have absolutely no feelings about this guy, Justin Baldoni. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I reviewed some of his social media and he seems kind of ridiculous with his toxic masculinity, lamentations, and so on. But that's fine. That's me. So I'm not on his side.
That was like the same thing as me when I was getting into this case. I was like, I mean, this guy is such a male feminist weirdo. He's not in my realm of he's the best. I was like, I don't know who this guy is, and everything he talks about is very annoying. But what's happening to him seems wrong. I don't like when women use their power to basically kind of bulldoze people like this guy. Same with Ryan Reynolds. I don't know what he's doing, but it all sounds really bad.
But my point is simply, I just don't see it in their incendiary complaint where they're trying to do their best to bash him and the PR team. I don't see that the second loop closed of, and then here's where they did it. It's just all supposition. They don't have these great texts saying, look what I got placed in the New York Post.
Right. It's actually even worse than that. It's not just that they can't prove or don't have any evidence to show that it was done. There's actual evidence. There are text messages. There are receipts, right?
I love
That
that this guy,
absolutely
like,
show
I've got receipts.
Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, placing, actual stories and hit pieces about Justin in the Daily Mail and in TMZ. And we have text with the actual reporters that show that this is exactly what's going on. So
and the reporters at the Daily Mail, I saw the text between the Daily Mail and you and some others in there. And the Daily Mail reporter is saying that this Melissa Nathan, who was at the heart of it for Justin, she was the crisis PR person they brought in, did not bash Blake Lively to him and was not doing that. And you've got Blake's person saying, I know it was Melissa. And you've got the Daily Mail saying, actually, no, Melissa's not doing it.
That's exactly right. And then you have Blake's person actually in an exchange with the Daily Mail reporter, changing a story completely to go from, was Blake Lively difficult on the set, to change that into, does the cast and crew all hate Justin? I mean, that's when you start to talk about a smear campaign.
Yeah.
You start to look at it from that standpoint. And for the New York Times not to have looked at those text messages, not to have caught them.
And let me interject here, because a lot of the stuff is that they're talking about with regards to the press circuit for It Ends With Us turned out to be like, I mean, Justin Baldoni was nowhere to be found on the press circuit. And everybody was like, why is Ryan Reynolds promoting this movie? Like, Ryan Reynolds has nothing to do with this movie. So why is he going around? Because Deadpool was coming out at the same time, and him and Blake were going around, talking about this movie. And then there was also at the same time, Blake was, while she was promoting the movie, she was like promoting like this weird makeup line she had and like these dresses and stuff. And people were like, why are you talking about makeup and dresses when you're supposed to be promoting a movie about like women being physically abused? Meanwhile, any sort of press that Justin Baldoni did, he was talking about the issues, like when it has to do with what the movie was about. And again, people start to ask questions. First of all, they were never together. And then whenever they were together, like they looked really frigid, like there was bad energy between them. Everybody could tell. And then there was Justin was nowhere to be found most of the time. And then it turned out he got sick and he didn't even want to be part of the press because he was like, you know what? Let Blake handle it. Like let Blake do it. This was like one of the stuff that's come out here. Let me show you. Here is this saying, quote, my body's done too much stress. That time that Justin Baldoni got so stressed out by Blake Lively's drama antics that he got really sick and had to spend days in the hospital and get a PICC line for 6 weeks. Be sure that it wasn't Lively who was harassed, right? So here is a picture of him in the hospital and some text going, infection in my spine, pretty serious, great doctors and caught it early. Blank had a feeling my body is done, too much stress, will be in hospital probably until Tuesday now. Then IV antibiotics via a PICC PICC line for 6 weeks, which means I can't travel. Ree Garfield, so happy he liked it. Damn, editor one saying, damn, then just take care of yourself. If Blake is so determined to handle the marketing on the movie, then just let her. Perfect time to look out for number one. So, I mean, this dude was so stressed out by her behavior that he ended up in the freaking hospital and was nowhere to be found on the circuit, like on the promo circuit for this movie. And then you have people like this kind of breaking down some of the stuff that's been happening. Here is this dude right here has been doing great work, Zach Peter, breaking this stuff down.
So what was it like working with Blake Lively on the set of It Ends With Us? Justin Baldoni dropped a number of text messages with crew members detailing just how difficult Blake Lively was to work with. Baldoni claims that since day one of production, she tried to push her weight. She would undermine their wardrobe director and make outfit choices of her own. And rather than showing up to her scheduled fittings, she drove up the budget by having them shuttle all of the clothes to her so that she could try them on.
What a
She would
drama
often rewrite
queen.
her lines daily, and apparently she was having Ryan Reynolds, who has no official credit on the film, help her rewrite some of the scenes, which was unbeknownst to Baldoni and the screenwriter.
And unheard of. Unheard of, people. Like in Hollywood, that does not happen. Like if the next time I talk to Script Doctor, I will talk to him about this. But in Hollywood, screenwriters and writers, they don't get just stars coming in and being like, you know what? Let me give you some rewrites. That's not how things work. Unless apparently you're Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds, because that's fucking insane. That's not how things are done in the industry.
She allegedly also inserted herself into the editing room, would have pages of notes, would have the editors.
Again, unless you're like Tom Cruise and like that is your fucking movie or whatever, like the way he does for Minority Report, I was going to say, but Mission Impossible. This is unheard of, people. What she and Ryan Reynolds have done is unheard of.
Fly to her so she could continue making revisions for her own cut. And when she was unhappy, she had the editor and a composer fired from the film. And even though they tested her edit versus Baldoni's edit in front of audiences, and Baldoni's edit ranked higher, she demanded that Sony release her version of the film. She even tried to bully her way into getting a PGA mark, which is a coveted credit for producers, which Baldoni and Jamie Heath were absolutely against. So much so that they still wrote the letter, but also sent a copy to their attorney saying that this letter was written and signed under duress. Because anytime Blake didn't get her way, she would halt production, she would threaten to quit, and she would threaten to not market the film.
Like literally everything we've been talking about. Threatened to market the film, threatened to quit all the time. I mean, this chick was an absolute drama queen. Nightmare to work with. If I was Justin Baldoni, I'd be so annoyed to have to work with this woman. I think anybody would. I mean, that's kind of freaking absolutely crazy. Let's go back to some of the stuff that this lawyer was saying to Megyn Kelly, because he said some really interesting stuff.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit.
Oh boy. Well, for what?
I'm just going to tell you, you're going to have to wait and see. It's coming up soon, but it's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie.
I'm looking forward to this.
And used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. That's what it's going to be, essentially about. But there will be a number of causes of action. There's a number of different defendants here. Stephanie Jones will be all over this complaint. That is the PR agent who was supposed to be working for Justin Baldoni. There's Leslie Sloan, who's another PR agent who will be part of this lawsuit. That was Blake Lively's. Blake Lively will be sued. And we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also.
Ooh.
And some
Ryan Reynolds
come as a surprise. Ryan Reynolds, for sure.
Oh, wow.
For sure.
He was involved in this to some extent. There was a meeting at their apartment at which you allege that there were some senior production people who witnessed him allegedly berate Justin Baldoni to the point where these third parties felt upset that they didn't do more to stand up for Justin, that they thought Ryan Reynolds was so abusive. I think he would say, I was standing up for my wife who'd been sexually harassed by this guy and so on. But what role did he have in all of this?
Well, arguably, for the first time At the premiere, you find out that Blake Lively tells people that all of a sudden he wrote a scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And, shocking everybody, shocking Sony, shocking the production staff. It's the first time they're hearing it. And, Justin handles that really, really well and doesn't want to say she's a liar or doesn't want to say that's inappropriate or doesn't want to say that's part of someone else's job. And he treats her very well about that. But, what Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie, but, he's used it, on Deadpool and to make fun of Justin Baldoni.
Do you think that's what he did? We have a clip where his character Deadpool, which is very popular in this movie, acts more like the Justin Baldoni that I said turned me off with the I'm against toxic masculinity. Cool. And there's a question about whether he was taking a shot at Justin. Here's the clip.
Sorry about
We're
that.
gonna stop this one because that is definitely gonna get claimed. But they're basically saying that Nice Pool was all basically a hit on Baldoni, which is interesting. I mean, I think that it's kind of right. I mean, he kind of comes off like that. Now that you think about it in hindsight, I'm like, oh, yeah, it does seem like that.
Complaints. You raise the issue. And what I make of that is that if your wife is sexually harassed, you don't make fun of Justin Baldoni. You don't make fun of the situation. You take it very seriously. You file HR complaints. You raise the issue.
You wrong? I don't think
you
he's
follow
wrong.
a legal process. What you don't do is mock the person and turn it into a joke. There's no question it relates to Justin. I mean, anybody that can watch that, the hair bun, the comment about the pregnancy. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's being done. But again, if somebody is seriously sexually harassed,
it's hindsight for me though. I did not think about that when I was watching Deadpool. I could tell you that. When I was watching that movie, I never thought about that. I actually thought, Nice Pool was funny. I was like, oh, this is a funny little, little back and forth between what we think about woke Hollywood. Because that, at the end of the day, that movie was a lot about how much we hate about woke Hollywood, woke Marvel, and all that stuff. So it was funny that they, had Nice Pool, and he was like a total weirdo. But now that you think about it, in hindsight, I'm just like, oh my God, they totally did that. He was a placement. He was a place in for Justin Baldoni.
You don't make fun of it. It's a serious issue.
The press for Blake did get bad in the summer of 2024, this past summer. And the one clip that went everywhere involved a young reporter who was interviewing my understanding is Blake, but you can't totally see it in this clip.
We talked
was about
about it.
8 months pregnant. And the reporter remarked on Blake's baby bump. And then Blake, I'm going to play it, but she snaps back about the reporter's alleged baby bump. The reporter did not have a baby bump. She wasn't pregnant. And apparently it had a history of difficulty in getting pregnant, which is why generally you just stay far away for something like that in an exchange. But it went very, very viral. And people were saying Blake Lively was inappropriate and a bully. And it wasn't the first time. And then we saw a bunch of videos. Here it is with that clip with reporter Kirsty Flaw.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
God, she's such a
guys
bitch.
love wearing those kind of clothes that you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And working in
Everyone
digital.
wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not just the women that have the clothes.
But
I feel like the women
Victoria-
get the conversation.
Except for
So
when they
she
were
was
on the
upset
press tour to promote It Ends With Us, it was all about the dresses and the makeups, wasn't it, Blake? God, she's
about
so
being asked about the clothing. But here's Blake Lively in a different interview with People magazine talking about her clothing in this particular movie. That exchange with Kirsty was not about this particular movie. But here she is totally fine with talking about wardrobe in SOT 15.
I just really loved those patchwork like jeans that you have.
Magnolia Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my real life jeans.
Yeah, a lot of that is
girl.
like your stuff.
The boots were mine.
Love
There's these great Louboutins that are also a close up on them when we're dancing in the bar. Those are mine. I have a few of my husband's shirts and socks randomly in the movie. I have some of Gigi Hadid's sweaters in the movie. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of my stuff.
So the reason I'm showing this to the audience is that people started noticing that Blake seemed sort of bullyish to this person who has far less power and stature in the industry than Blake does. And why did she do that? It was when a woman's 8 months pregnant, it is not abnormal to acknowledge it in an interview in a fun way, but she didn't seem to take well to it. And Flaw responded afterwards saying that this whole thing got, publicized, your lawsuit, saying she is in no way connected to any attempt to smear Blake Lively. She doesn't know the PR people involved in this, and she said as follows: I'm a journalist. This is what I do for a living. I would never accept money to jeopardize my integrity. I posted the video after I saw the movie, which I didn't like. I had a bad experience with Blake Lively. At the time, I kind of had enough of Hollywood. I wasn't afraid of being canceled anymore. So I posted the video. So that one, which I think is the most famous example, Brian, the journalist herself is saying she had absolutely no connection to Justin Baldoni or these PR agents that we've been discussing. And is that basically your point? That would you say the vast majority, most, all of the negative press generated about Blake in the summer did not actually originate with this PR team?
I would say all of it did not generate with this PR team. I mean, since I've been involved in this case, I've gotten 50 either texts or emails or things to my firm's website, more than 50 actually, about this was my experience with Blake Lively. We weren't allowed to talk to her on the set. We weren't allowed to ask for an autograph. We were, instructed, this way or that. We were treated like this. I mean, and these things aren't coming because we're doing an investigation. These are completely organic. These are based on people's real life experiences. In fact, we've come across evidence that shows that even her own representatives knew that she was threatening and mean and tough.
She's a mean girl.
To get her way. This is not something that we wanted out there. It's not something that Justin wanted out there. In fact, it hurts the movie. It doesn't help the movie. And Justin knew that.
You know what? And that's a really interesting point, because I think this has really hurt this movie. I really didn't have an interest in watching the movie before. Like, I was like, I kind of did a little bit, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll watch it. But then when all this happens, I was like, I don't want to watch a movie about abuse that's like being done by people who are being abusive. Like, this is so fucking weird.
This was about, domestic violence and getting the message across.
Yes.
I'll just, give you, a couple of examples. In April and May of 2024, when Blake Lively got her own cut of the movie, Justin said, in a text message to his editors, the editors and director isn't allowed to look at an actress cut. Got it. Well, here we go. We will keep taking the high road. Even when Justin Baldoni's, his version, his cut of the film, the Badoni cut, I'll call it, scored significantly higher than Blake Lively's cut. And still Blake Lively's cut was the one that was chosen. He still didn't do anything publicly about that. And that was the one chosen, because of the threats made by Blake Lively. In fact, we have a source that tells us that some of the cut that she had has some of Baldoni's version in it. I mean, in June of 2024, Blake Lively took over the marketing for the film. Again, there's nothing nothing negative in the press or anything else like that. And Justin just wants to take the high road. Blake is in June of 2024. Blake's cut is chosen to be shown at Book Bonanza, and Justin and his editing team haven't even seen it. I mean, they haven't even seen it, and that's in a text message that they're not allowed to. Justin is shut out. He's getting notes as a studio, not as a director. He has not seen the locked cut of the film in July of 2024. And in August 5th of 2024, Justin invites the editors to the premiere, but they can't be in the same room with Blake. Justin replies, "We won't be in the same room. I was asked not to even come to the premiere." And the editors say, "It would be very hard for me to sit and watch the final film for the first time at the premiere." And Justin replies, "Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it either." And, that's when you get to, the voice note. And even in September of 2024, without criticizing Blake at all, he says to the editors, "One day we'll finish our cut together. I would, of course, love to show the world the beautiful version that he did." And he says in September of 2024, the purpose of the movie, the amount of women who feel seen. That's why we did this, and it worked.
Did you know that American homeowners nationwide have over $32 trillion in equity?
Very, very interesting. So, I mean, I'm going to be following this stuff very closely. Now, something else did drop, which I thought was interesting. Speaking about people who've had beef or encounters, I should say. This was just an encounter with Blake Lively. Some people are coming out of the woodwork and being like, "Hey, I've had an encounter with Blake. It didn't go well." So here's this lady here. It says, "Woman who worked directly with Blake Lively in the industry speaks out on Blake amid Justin Baldoni lawsuit." Now, I'm gonna the term "worked with" is really loosely here, because they didn't really work together, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. But it still doesn't discount what she's saying, and how much of a mean girl Blake is. So here we go.
So I wanted to weigh in on the Blake Lively drama as someone that has worked with her and someone that's worked with directors in Hollywood for over 10 years. I worked at a talent agency and then a management company. And I specifically at one time actually worked with Blake Lively. So I want to color in what's going on here. For context, when I worked with Blake, it was one day she was doing press for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. This was
Again, she worked with, she's using that term really loosely here. I don't know if I would consider this worked with, but it's more like an encounter.
May, beginning of June 2005. I worked on a show that was on the Fuse channel, which was like a local competitor to MTV in New York City. After that, I went on to work in Hollywood at CAA, which is WME's competitor, and then management companies where I worked with directors. So I actually do have a lot of perspective here. In addition to, I grew up on set. I was a local Nepo baby because my parents both worked in sports TV. So I grew up going to set all the time. So when I was interning at the Fuse channel, as I said, this was 2005, end of May, beginning of June, she was doing press for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants with 3 of the 4 girls. I don't remember who exactly was there, but it was Blake who was actually terrible and made me cry.
Oh.
So as an intern, we were allowed on set, but and as someone who grew up on set, you don't speak on set. It is quiet on the set because obviously the people with the microphones need to be heard, right? So your job was to just fetch things that various people needed. That day, it was my job to hand out the—
I'm just going to say, I could never work in this industry. The way they treat these poor, behind the set people, quiet on the set. You can't speak unless the star is just speaking. Why do these people put themselves through this? I have no idea, but I digress.
These little water bottles to anyone who needed them.
They're
as they were walking to set from their green room, I had to pass them in this extremely narrow hallway, literally necessitating me to go like this against a wall so they could get by. Obviously, they're the priority. They need to get to set.
They're the priority.
I don't speak to them because, again, being an intern and also just growing up in the industry, you're seen, not heard, right? When you're not talented.
You don't speak to them. You're seen, not heard. I mean, is this lady listening to herself? Get out of your industry. This is fucking terrible.
You just do what you have to do. Show concludes, and me and all the interns are then brought upstairs for an emergency intern meeting, and they proceed to yell at us for being unprofessional. Now, I'm very confused. I'm looking around, and I'm like, nobody was unprofessional that day, at least from what I had observed. And then they ask me to stay after the meeting. So now I'm really now my red flags are going off. What happened?
He's in trouble.
She, specifically Blake, alleged that I was unprofessional and treated her like a fan. I want to reiterate, I did not speak to her. I had no idea who she was. She hadn't done Gossip Girl yet. Like, this was her breakout thing. Didn't even know her name. I was focused on the next show that I was supposed to help with production, which was a gaming show that we were doing, or a contest show. So I get dressed down for don't talk to talent, don't treat them like you're a fan. And I'm like, I literally, like, what? So I guess she went and complained that me specifically, of all the interns, treated her like a fan, and she was so uncomfortable. Okay, I'm extremely weirded out. I actually cried on the train home. I used to take the train back to Long Island. Like, I was mortified. Like, again, not only did I not treat her unprofessionally, but nobody to my experience that I saw spoke to her. Like, this was our 8th show. We knew not to talk to talent. Everybody knew that. Okay, so I wipe it off, whatever. Years go by, I wind up working in a talent agency, and this is where working with directors and experiencing harassment in my own right comes into play. Harassment requires a factor of a power imbalance, okay? So someone lower than you can't really harass you, because if you're her level, you can boot them off. She could have booted him off the project if he was legitimately harassing her.
This is true.
Harassment also doesn't occur when your husband is a frequent visitor and presence on set. He was ghostwriting scripts, which is like shocking to me as someone who worked with writers and directors. I've never heard of somebody bringing their husband in to like do rewrites. That was bizarre.
That. Unheard of.
But when you work with directors, typically they are the top dog. He was the bottom dog. It was her with all the leverage. She was the star on this show. So
she was the bottom. He was the bottom dog. I'm sorry, but that's funny. It's because he's a male feminist, so he's the bottom dog. And then she's all like, I'm like the best. I'm gonna rewrite this whole script, even though I haven't like read the book. And like I'm gonna just like, like not just like I'm gonna like totally like rewrite the whole script. And then my husband is also going to like add in like whatever, because like he's Ryan Reynolds and like he's Deadpool, and like, like everybody loves him. So he's gonna just like chime in on the script for no reason, but he's gonna do it. Mm-hmm.
So when I saw her interviews playing back, I was immediately, I'd actually kind of forgotten about what had happened when I worked for Fuse or interned at Fuse. I was immediately taken back to when she flipped the narrative on me and acted as if I did all these offensive things, when I want to reiterate, I didn't speak to this girl. I did not speak to her. So this girl has a pattern of flipping the narrative, playing the victim, and then leveraging her status to actually bully and mistreat other people. So I've never heard of Justin Baldoni. I'm someone who, again, worked with Hollywood directors, never heard of this guy. This might have been his big break. And what I saw is her harassing him, because again, usually it's the director that's the bigger dog on set. So yeah, they can harass their talent if they're like the much bigger name. But when you're the bigger name, you can have them kicked off set. As obvious as she got him kicked out of WME, which was her talent agency. For clarity, I worked at CAA, which is the competitor, but just as big. So she threw her weight around and was like, okay, me and Ryan want this guy booted out of the agency, which is something the bigger dog can do because they have the leverage. That's how Harvey Weinstein got away with everything, because he had the leverage.
Not wrong
and
about
he
that.
would pick on no-name people or lesser than people, because who's going to believe them over him? You have more to lose if you don't take Ryan and Blake's side. So having worked in PR, having worked on set, having grown up on set, and having personal experience with Blake doing this to me, she's the problem. There's a reason she feuds with all her co-stars. She had a feud with Anna Kendrick. She had a feud with Leighton Meester. Leighton Meester, who I wound up meeting years later. We were in Mommy and Me classes together. Completely different vibes. Very human, very demure, very nice. Unlike Big Britches Blake. So if you don't know about Hollywood and don't know about these people, allow me to color that experience in. She was the problem.
Ouch. I mean, this chick kind of like just broke everything down. But that's what I'm saying. Like when there's a pattern of behavior, it's pretty easy to start being like, okay, like there's a problem. And it seems like the problem is pointing to this person right here. So like, yes, this chick, like, she's been holding on to this situation for a long time. So it's kind of like, okay, well, you've been hanging on to this. But it's kind of like understanding why she would hang on to it. Because she's like, experienced something kind of traumatic. Like Blake made her cry. Like, don't talk to talent. Like, this is the kind of shit you hear about from like celebrities that make people dislike celebrities because, like, don't talk to talent like you're a fan shouldn't be a thing. Like, because celebrities should want fans to talk to them and like be like, "Oh, I love you, Blake Lively." Like, well, like they should want fans to be obsessed with them and be like, "Oh my God, hi Blake, I'm such a huge fan of yours." Like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's your entire industry is so like based on people liking you. That is your entire industry. And when you're a big bitch and you start to like make people cry, it kind of goes against what your persona is, which is, you're supposed to be this lovely woman that's married to one of the biggest stars on the planet who's supposed to be really funny and awesome, but apparently isn't. There's this other story that somebody dropped about Blake. So here's another one. This is Ariadna Jacob that I was talking about. Make sure you guys go subscribe to her. She's doing a lot of good coverage on the story. But this is so she wasn't involved in the movie, wasn't paid, and had no clue she'd end up in the legal filing. And she went to the premiere because her mom's friend co-owned the production company. So this girl somehow ended up in the filing of Blake Lively. Like, okay, so listen to her story. This is crazy.
I found out that Blake Lively included me in her lawsuit documentation when all these news outlets started to DM me. Everything I'm about to tell you is based off of what I witnessed and what I experienced. I had no part in making this movie. I have no idea what happened on set. I don't know what he went through. I don't know what she went through. This is just what I witnessed. If you don't already know, I was mentioned in Blake Lively's lawsuit to Justin Baldoni. I made a video in August. I will go ahead and pin it for now. Here's what happened. One of my mom's friends owned the production company with Justin that produced this movie. I was a big fan of the book. I was really excited about the movie, so my mom included me in going to the premiere.
I like her accent.
This premiere was in a small suburb of Chicago, and there were not a ton of people there. After the movie was over, Justin came in and the director came in and they just kind of talked about their movie and the experience. Justin talked about all the research that he had done to make this movie as authentic as possible. You guys can decide if it was authentic or not. Don't come for me. He talked about how he attended counseling sessions of men who were abusers so that he could understand his part in the movie more.
Oh.
He talked about how he partnered with counselors and support systems for women who have experienced domestic violence so that he could really, show the support and be able to give a more authentic take. He also talked about how he could never understand what it feels like to be a woman in this situation. He said, I don't know what it's like to have to carry pepper spray to get to my car and, all of that kind of stuff, which I really appreciated hearing him say. When I met him, he was nothing but kind. And I just happened to notice that in Blake Lively's interviews, she never mentioned domestic violence, which pissed me off. So in my video that is referenced, I talked about that. No, I was not paid to smear her. I wasn't even asked to post about the movie. Literally just a girl. Let me know what your questions are. I'll be answering them.
So now let's go to what she's talking about. So this is the video that she's talking about.
I feel like I might get a cease and desist from this video, but I truly don't care because I came with receipts. I went to the premiere of It Ends With Us. Justin Baldoni was there. I truly believe it is one of the best movies ever made. It touches on a very sensitive topic of domestic violence in the best way possible. And I am flabbergasted that with the huge audience that Blake Lively has and all of the press interviews that she's had, she doesn't once talk about domestic violence. I don't even know if I'm about to show you what I'm about to show you, but I really don't care. This man did not know that one person was recording. He was saying this simply for his audience that was there of like 30 people. Just watch.
I don't know what it's like to have to think about having pepper spray with me and to generally think about my safety. I will never have this lived experience. And so it was crucial for me and thinking about how to play Ryle to partner with an organization and with people that could actually help me get into a psyche, both as a filmmaker, right, and respecting the source material and wanting to honor and make something that had the ability to shed a truthful light on a situation that is kept in the dark, which is domestic violence. So we partnered with our friends at No More, who are actually here. Jane, right there, Jane Randall.
So that's interesting. Wait, somebody said fake Jewish girl. I was like, oh my god, that's funny. Because Shadow War Child, love this woman's handle. I didn't notice that. That's funny. So that's her. That was a video, and she ended up in the filing, which is insane. I mean, and then here's a comment that I totally agree with here. It says, "What makes me so mad?" Colorado Mountain says, "What makes me so mad about that is that they're targeting regular people on social media. Regular people. Who does Blake think she is? You can't stop people from talking about her." And that's exactly the crux of the matter of this entire situation, because Blake is taking it upon herself to be like, okay, this man, because I mean, the sexual harassment allegations aside, which we haven't even gone into, but the sexual harassment allegations aside, she's mostly talking about how he has ruined her image through his PR team. So, like the sexual harassment and sexual, like, because there was no sexual assault, there was just sexual harassment. So these allegations of sexual harassment are even coming second or third, compared to what she's actually alleging, which is very serious stuff of like sexual harassment and like other stuff. And then she goes and puts this woman in her filing to make people feel guilty about, taking Justin Baldoni's side and then being like, oh yeah, they're all working. Like she's like basically kind of being like, they're all working together. Everyone's after me, including the public. They all hate me because of you, Justin Baldoni, because of you. And I'm going to sue you and I'm going to take everything you own because you made them hate me. And that's not the case, as we just saw in that video that woman just showed. Blake does a very good job of making herself seem like a complete bitch. Here is another interview with Blake Lively that makes her not look great. I think this was one of them. Let's make sure. Let's watch this together. Watch Blake Lively get nervous as the interviewer exposed that she was teaching Justin Baldoni how to be more sexual with her, despite Blake admitting that they had intimacy coordinators whose job it was to do this. Does Blake fancy Justin? Okay, this is a weird.
I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have. Thank goodness.
Which she kind of started lying about, because in the thing she says they didn't have one, then they did have one, and then Justin said we had one. She didn't approve of the coordinacy intimator. The intimacy coordinator, she didn't like them, and then they had to get another one, and then she was like, fine, and then I guess she didn't like them again, and then they had to bring Ryan Reynolds to be a intimacy coordinator, which is really fucking weird because that's her husband, and so he has to tell how the guy is to kiss her and stuff like that, which is so weird. Like, can you imagine your husband going in there and being like, this is tilt my wife's head back like this and kiss her like that? That's just so creepy and weird to me.
Justin, how to pull you in.
Where have you seen this?
That clip?
I actually just saw it too. I was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that romance is really important. You're supposed to, tell a story well. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have. Thank goodness.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen this?
That clip?
I actually just saw it too.
She got so mad at this interview. Where have you seen this? I'm gonna kill you. Is what she's saying. I'm gonna sue you next. Is basically what she's thinking. She did not like that at all. What else did I have that I wanted to talk about? An alleged leaked audio. Justin Baldoni claims that he got sent to the basement by Blake Lively at It Ends With Us premiere. She didn't want me anywhere near the thing. Oh, this is another clip from the Megyn Kelly interview. Okay, hold on. Let me bring this on. This is interesting. So this is this clip here that they're talking about. But Variety's article says, in alleged leaked audio, Justin Baldoni claims that he got sent to the basement by Blake Lively at Enzo Thus premiere. She didn't want me anywhere near. But also he got sick, as we saw in those other
Baldoni
messages.
speaking to what he called his dream team, those who had been helping him edit the films and get it to finality, lamenting the fact that he was put in the basement on the premiere of his own movie, he says, per Blake's demands. Take a listen to that voice text in part.
Think about this. On what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise, I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement. We were down there together, my friends and family, the people that love me the most, and we start laughing because of the ridiculousness of this whole thing. And I realized, on a night that was supposed to be so materialistically joyful, I was in the basement with the people that I love the most, and we were all joyful and laughing because none of that shit matters. None of it. That's not why we're in the business. That's not why the three of us are in this business, is to attend a premiere like that and be celebrated. We're in this business because we're artists and we believe in what we do, and because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people. And that's what we did. That's what you both did. And I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
That's rough, man.
So Brian, and by the way, that'll be posted on megankelly.com. But to those who say the reason she wanted him nowhere near her at the premiere is because he'd been sexually harassing her and then retaliating against her with a smear campaign in the press after the harassment.
That is what they would
they say, so good. Who could blame her for wanting him in the basement? What say you?
Correct.
Let's break down what the sexual harassment is. I mean, we've just, been through the Me Too movement. We've heard all sorts of serious allegations of sexual harassment that are really meaningful to victims and really important and whatnot. Blake Lively, if she was sexually harassed to such a degree in this film and in this situation, she wouldn't have returned to the film. And they had sat down and they had talked about what her complaints were. The unfortunate thing is she actually didn't read the book and didn't understand what the book was about. And as a result of that, yes, and as a result of that, the complaints are things.
She didn't read the source material, people. She did not read the source material. That's insane.
It was like he had gone into her trailer when she was breastfeeding, to which there are text messages that address that. There were complaints that Jamie Heath, Justin's partner, had shown pornography. If you look at the actual complaint that they filed, it says that that's pornography. What Jamie Heath showed her was a still video of a home birth because they were discussing a scene about birthing. And that's not pornography. And if you get down to the specific allegations, I mean, what this film was about domestic violence. This film was about sex scenes that involve, rough behavior and domestic violence and serious issues like that. And at every turn, to the extent that Justin, anybody felt uncomfortable in any way on the film, Justin took responsibility for it. They met at Ryan Reynolds' house in New York. They went over a 17-point list of things. They had come to an agreement, although Justin and Jamie did not agree that these things, that were, spoken about were warranted at all. They said, well, of course we won't come into your trailer when, if you don't want us to. Of course we won't do these things.
And I mean, I don't know if he's going to bring it up, but basically, like the whole breastfeeding situation, like the text said, like, come into my trailer, I'm pumping, basically.
And they're really simple concepts and simple things. And even in their own complaint, they admit that ever since they met in January, that everything ran smoothly for the rest of the set. And then all of a sudden, when Blake Lively decides that she's not going to do any type of press with Justin, she's not going to let him at the premiere. She's not going to be seen in a photo with him in any kind of the press. She decides that and all of a sudden the fans, people aren't stupid out there. They're looking and seeing that, oh, hold it. The entire cast has unfollowed Justin.
Yeah, and then
there's no explanation for
what
it.
The
There's not even an
is this dude doing in this fucking photo op? What the hell does Wolverine have to do with It Ends With Us? The director of the movie's not there, but Deadpool and Wolverine are. I mean, sure, Deadpool's married to her, but I mean, come on. It's pretty plain to see.
email. And hold it, they're not together in any of the marketing. Why is that? Is there something going on with the two of them? And then you start to see the stories planted by Leslie Sloan. You start to see them on August 8th, and it's very clear what's being planted. There are evidence for all these points. There are text messages for all these points. And unlike any case that I've handled in my entire career, this is the one case we're going to put every single text message, every single
really
document,
interesting.
everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions, and they can determine whether or not there was sexual harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof and receipts that absolutely and unequivocally show this is not true.
All right, let's go through some of them, because what she alleges in her complaint is that there was a twofold plan. This is Blake Lively's allegation that aimed to both A, conceal the pattern of harassment and other misconduct by Mr. Baldoni, his partner, Mr. Heath, and their company Wayfarer, and B, retaliate against Ms. Lively by battering her image, harming her businesses, and causing her and her family severe emotional harm. To me, as an attorney, I separate those out, because to conceal the alleged pattern of harassment to which he's referring and other misconduct by Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfarer, to me, Brian, you tell me, but I feel like that's fine. Let's assume he did do the harassment. I know you deny all that, but even if he did do the harassment, what's best for the film is definitely not to have that hitting just as the film hits the big screen. I don't think there's a cause of action for concealing bad news about the star of the film. It's point B that could potentially spell legal trouble, which is that they then allegedly retaliated against Blake Lively by orchestrating a smear campaign against her. And the reason they did it was because she raised sexual harassment complaints. Let's just focus on number 2 for now. Is it a problem in your mind? Like, if you've got somebody on the show, on the movie, who's alleged sexual harassment, and then when the movie hits, she directly or through her PR person leaks that, starts generating PR to make the movie look bad, to make the co-star look bad. I was a poor victim, he was a cad, and leaks all this. Is it necessarily retaliatory for the person being accused to say, A, no, I didn't, and B, this person should not be trusted. This person is not a good person, right? I just don't understand legally the difference, because you're not allowed to retaliate, to punish somebody in essence for accusing in this way. But also, if it's false, does a man have the right to come out and say, don't believe her. This is a bad person, either directly or through PR people.
Well, remember that there was actually no allegation of sexual harassment until the lawsuit was filed. I mean, that's when the allegations of sexual harassment came up. They didn't come up before them.
Well, there was in the 17-point memo that you referenced. She was raising some of these issues.
Well, that's right. But I mean, in terms of the public, she raised them in the 17-point memo. They had agreed to 17 points that they would agree that they were simple points that everybody would go back and she would return to work. There's a signed document saying they worked things out. In the actual lawsuit itself, it says everything went fine from then on. So, you know, and the question really is, why was Crisis PR brought in? Crisis PR was brought in because there were negative stories about Justin that were being leaked to the media, not about sexual harassment. There were negative stories about Justin being brought in saying no one likes him. He's been a problem on set. You know, stories like that. And Crisis PR was brought in to say, this won't be good for the film. Crisis PR was also brought in because there were negative stories about Blake Lively, not that Justin created, but that existed out there. I mean, you know, fans and media can be brutal. They go back through your history. They go back and look and say, what interviews have you given before? How have you treated people?
Yeah, they will comb through like everything and be like, oh, you were a total bitch like 5 years ago.
How, you know, are you promoting the film in a way where you're promoting your hair care products?
Right.
And in a way that's not true and genuine as far as domestic violence is concerned. They go back and they see those videos.
I mean, even like the last woman that we just saw, that she was a fan of the books and she was a fan of the movie. And then she's like, I'm pissed off that Blake Lively is like promoting the movie with her like makeup line rather than like talking about actual like the issues.
They bring them out organically. That's not Justin doing that. That's not Justin's Crisis PR doing it. In fact, what he wants is a successful movie. He wants to protect the movie, and all through the text messages, you'll see over.
What did these people have to lose? And that's like that's the question, right? Like, what did Blake have to lose, and what did Justin have to lose? And in Justin's case, he had a lot more to lose than Blake. He had the rights to the movie. This was his big up and coming movie that he wanted to like get off. His career was on the line. Blake didn't really have much to lose. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Blake has lost everything and Justin's all at fault. I don't know, man. I don't buy her story.
Over and over and over again, him saying, I don't want to hurt her. I want to protect her. Let's give her what she wants. Let's help her. That's what he's doing.
Well, and I see a lot of Justin saying, we're not planting these stories, right? Like he's going to the PR team, seeing some of the bad PR against her, saying, this isn't us. And they're saying, no, this isn't us. There is an organic campaign unfolding against her. But there are very troubling texts between this crisis PR person, Melissa Nathan, and the regular PR person about what they'd like to do to Blake. And that's
which we kind of went into already. So I think this is pretty much covering up to what we've come to now to today. Oh, Blake was definitely turned away from the Golden Globes. Like they didn't like there's this post saying that Hollywood seemed to think it ends with Blake. Hollywood seemed to think so. Her team at WME begged CBS and Dick Clark Productions to let her present a major award and revive her career, and they said no because they've moved on. Hollywood has moved on. Now this is Eric B saying this. I don't know who this guy is, but just some rando dude. But I think it's still funny. Like what he's talking about is funny. He's talking about that the awards people are, you know, Hollywood is kind of turning their nose up at Blake right now. They're like, you're too weird. We don't want anything to do with you right now. What is this? It says Blake Lively will not present the Sunday Golden Globes despite Enzo's pulling in $355 $1 million worldwide. blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's see what she has
For
to say.
me, what was really important for the character was that you understood she was like a walking, talking contradiction, but also she could be all things at once. She could be both strong and vulnerable. She could be both masculine and feminine. She could be artistic and overly expressive and fashion and fabulous, but she could also be like very grounded in utility. Wardrobe is always the way that I enter a character. I'm a very shy person. So if I
She's going
look a
into her
certain way,
wardrobe,
then I
yeah.
can escape into that. Like even stuff today, I don't dress like this in real life, but like I'm having to like do interviews and talk. So I'm going to wear like a crazy pattern and really crazy rings. Rings also are like my comfort blanket. It's just a very expensive comfort blanket. I should like Snuggies instead as a comfort blanket. Instead I like Lorraine Schwartz, which is a problem. For me, what was really
What
important
the
for the
fuck
character
was
was
that?
that
I
you
mean-
understood she was
Ugh, this girl, she sounds so insufferable. That was the most important thing from that whole, oh my God. Oh my God, this girl. This guy's going on. Blake and Ryan's hypocrisies while dragging Justin Baldoni while riding the coattails of Deadpool Wolverine's success. I mean, this is true. They did do that. That's crazy, man. They're going through this Justin Baldoni guy is going through a lot. Before I went live, I did see this in Ryan Reynolds news. From E, saying Ryan Reynolds is making time for Marvelous Night Out. More about his first public appearance since Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni legal battle. What the fuck happened to Ryan Reynolds? He looks like he's on Ozempic. Like, what is going on with his face? He looks so skinny. Let's see. What's his first public appearance? Let's see. I clicked on the link. So let's see what his first public appearance is. It hasn't happened yet.
Ryan Reynolds is making his first public appearance since the start of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal battle. The Deadpool actor steps out for his first public appearance since news broke of his wife Blake Lively's ongoing legal battle with her It Ends With Us co-star and director Justin Baldoni, attending the National Board Awards in New York City on January 7th. For the National Board of Review event hosted by Willie Geist, Ryan wears a light gray suit with dark gray lapels and a white button-down shirt. And Ryan, who shares kids James, Inez, Betty, and Olin with Blake, caught up with the cast of Wicked, posing with Ariana Grande, Ethan Slater,
Oh my
Cynthia
God, they're on
Erivo,
the same diet.
caught up with the
He's getting as skinny as these two right here.
cast of Wicked, posing with Ariana Grande, Ethan
was just
Slater,
thinking that he's
Cynthia
on the same
Erivo,
diet.
Michelle Yeoh, and director John M. Chu for a series of snaps. Well inside the ceremony,
Oh, so he's
Ryan
just,
took
like,
to the
hanging
stage
out
to
and-
hand out an award along with fellow presenters Robert Pattinson, Jesse Eisenberg, and Sofia Coppola.
He's
Just
doing,
1
like,
week before
whatever.
Ryan showed out for the National Board Awards, Blake filed a formal lawsuit against Justin, who directed and starred alongside her in the 2024 movie adaptation of Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us,
Okay, we know
for
that.
allegedly causing her mental
So much mental distress, you guys, from this movie. All this could have been avoided if she had just walked away. Like, you're getting abused, walk away. Break the contract. It's not like you can't afford it. You're fucking massively famous and rich, and you have a really rich husband that just made a fuck ton of money doing Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you're like being harassed on a movie about, I don't know, domestic violence, why don't you just walk away, file a complaint, and be like, I've left the movie because the fucking director sexually harassed me, and I'm not gonna make a movie with him, because I'm not going to fucking stand there and be sexually harassed. That would carry a lot more weight if you actually walked away and was like, I'm going to take a hit. I will break a contract with the studios because I'm going to stand up for my rights. That would mean a lot more than whatever the fuck this is. Because this just seems like a bitter, mean girl that just wants to go after this dude And now the media is going to be sticking up for her, and anybody like myself who's questioning her motives is going to be labeled sexist or an internalized misogynist, and covering for victims and blah blah, or like predators over victims and blah 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 blah. We've heard it all before, people. I'm used to it because I was sticking up for Johnny Depp when that whole thing was going on. I was like, I doubt this woman. And then, we were called a bunch of names. It's all very interesting, and it's going to get even more interesting as time goes on. Ancient One dropping some backs box off of why Deadpool and Wolverine made this much money. That's a lot of money. Charlie says both parties are unlikable. And you know what? I agree with you. Both parties all are unlikable. But one of them is a liar too. So that to me is a little interesting. And that's what I started this whole show about. I was like, you know what? These people are all narcissists. They're like, there's not one person that's like really like a good person in all of this. I need the lawyers even. Everybody's out for number one. But at the end of the day, somebody's lying. Somebody's really, really lying about somebody else. And I think it's fair to figure out who that person is. Now, a couple more things before I call it a night. One is this not article, but bit of news that dropped that made me laugh. It says husband of Sunny Hosen from The View has been arrested for alleged federal insurance fraud. This is the largest RICO case ever filed in New York. That's insane. That's crazy. Because this chick is so like, holier than thou. Let's look up this article. Is this true? I gotta look this up. What's his name? Sunny Hosen. The View Sunny Hosen's husband sued for federal something. Federal insurance fraud. This is from the Mirror. Let's see. Let's get a better source here. I hate all of these sources. I guess the Daily Mail. Daily Mail's not great either. Ugh, the Daily Mail has too many ads. Screw the Daily Mail. Okay, let's just go to the Mirror. The View's Sunny Hosen husband, Emmanuel Hosen, sued for alleged federal insurance fraud. Wait, that doesn't mean arrested. He's being sued. He's undergoing some legal trouble after a new lawsuit accusing him of insurance fraud. The surgeon allegedly was getting kickbacks by strategically billing. Oh, no. Orthopedic surgeon Emmanuel Hosen, who is married to The View's Sunny Hosen, was accused of federal insurance fraud in an escaping lawsuit. According to the documents obtained by the Mirror, Emmanuel was allegedly getting kickbacks by performing a surgery and then billing the company that insured taxi companies and Uber and Lyft drivers. The lawsuit filed by American Transit Insurance Company, which is seeking $450 million in damages, claims Emmanuel knowingly provide fraudulent medical and other healthcare services, including arthroscopic surgeries. The case was filed in the U.S. District Court of Eastern District of New York on December 17th. The company claimed that they were billed in exchange for kickbacks and other compensation, which were disguised as dividends or other cash distributions. However, Emmanuel's lawyer, Daniel John, thought that the white I can't read this, heavily disputes the allegations against his client. Of course he would. He told the Daily Mail the lawsuit is meant to intimidate and harass doctors from collecting or for care given to American Transit Insurance and insureds and their passengers. The real story here is about the insurance carrier abusing the legal system to limit the restrict health care benefits to its insureds and their passengers while write off their proper obligations. Wow, this is weird. The lawyer pointed towards Emmanuel's impeccable record, adding that American Transit has rushed into the lawsuit without ever conducting an examination of Dr. Hostin or expressing any concerns to his lawyers. He further slammed both the lawsuit and the company by labeling it a blanket scattershot, meritless lawsuit by a nearly bankrupt insurance carrier. However, an attorney for American Transit didn't back down, telling the Mail, no-fault fraud is a huge problem in New York. American Transit filed lawsuit as part of its statutory responsibility to fight such fraud. The Mirror contacted lawyers for Emmanuel Hostin and American Transit for comment, and Sonny Emmanuel married in 1988. According to the American lawyer and television personality, the pair met Emmanuel, nicknamed Manny, at church. Oh, that's funny. In her book, I Am These Truths. Who fucking titles their book that? God, she's so insufferable. A memoir of identity, justice, and living between worlds. Oh my God, this book title. He was gorgeous, decked out in a beautiful tailor suit. God, what a fucking insufferable bitch. Who names their book this? I just wanted to lose just because of this book title. I don't know. I don't know these people, but I can tell you this. I feel like she's a fucking liar. So I don't know. I'm leaning in towards the insurance company. Is that terrible? They're probably awful. Again, no good people. No good people in this scenario or the other scenario. There's no good people at all. This one also was interesting to me. Right before I went live, I saw a little thing, a little video that I was like, oh, dear God, no. And that's Cynthia Erivo saying that she wants to play Storm.
Is there another dream role out there that you want to manifest right here, right now?
I really want to play Storm. I know it sounds frivolous, but I think we haven't uncovered how grand she is and all of that inner turmoil that she has. So I think there's a world in which we could, I don't know, do something like that.
Is there another dream
Good
role out there
Lord.
that you want to manifest right here, right now?
I really want to play Storm. I know it sounds.
I hope that never happens, but I think she would do well as Nosferatu in the Nosferatu sequel, where they inevitably race swap him and sex swap him. So I think that they should cast her. I mean, this is definitely. I mean, look at these nails. She is Nosferatu. I think she would be a great cast for that role. She looks like him, but like a black woman version of him. Okay, lastly, we've come to the end of the show, and it's been a really annoying topic because all these people are awful. So we're going to leave it on a funny note with a bit of a laugh. And this guy, he made me laugh. So I want to share it with you guys. It's a 74-year-old man who has jokes. And I can tell you this. I laughed a lot at this. And I want to know who he is. I don't know who he is.
I just paid off my student loan. It's tough getting older. Went into an antique store, they wouldn't let me leave. I tried using that face aging app. They said, nah, you're good. I'm officially an old man. I give unwanted advice to total strangers. I told a kid to pull his pants up. His underwear was showing. He mocked me, tried to give me a wedgie. But the joke was on him. I was wearing the pins. I went to the doctor because I thought I had arthritis. I don't. I have early onset rigor mortis.
Oh no.
Anybody ever drop their phone in the toilet? There you go. I did, and after I did, I put my phone in a bag of rice. Anybody ever drop a bag of rice in the toilet?
Oh my God.
I joined a dating site for people my age called Carbon Dating.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I asked a woman on the site for her number. She told me it was 140/95. I flunked out of college twice. First time because I was a drunk. Second time I was sober, but it was hard. Got arrested
great.
once for drunk driving. Not only was I drunk, but I'd been smoking hash. When I took the breathalyzer test, I inhaled, tried to pass it to the cop.
This guy's great.
YOLO. So I was arrested, pled guilty. For my community service, I left the community. Used to smoke cigarettes. I was a heavy smoker. I would even smoke when I went jogging, which is stupid, of course. So I quit jogging. I love smoking cigarettes. I'd smoke after sex. I'd smoke during sex. Sometimes I would skip sex and just smoke cigarettes. Before I got my hearing aids, my crowd work was terrible. I asked an audience member where he was from. He said, my mama. I heard Miami and said, I've been there.
Oh, no.
I am 74 years old. Life expectancy for men is 76 years. Life expectancy for women is 81 years. I figure if I transition.
Oh my God, he was great. Does anyone know in the chat know who this guy is? Oh look, this guy's asking the same thing. I want to know. Andy Huggins. Oh, that's great. So his name is Andy Huggins. That was from something called the King of One-Liners. That's stand-up comedy. Here, I'm going to share this with you guys in the chat. Here's the video, the YouTube video for this guy's full set. I guess it's because it's like 10 minutes long. So there you go. You can check it out. Maybe get a good laugh because I thought he was funny. I'm going to actually bookmark that for myself for later. Nice. Okay. And with that, I think we've come to the end of the show. It's been like 2.5 hours. I can't believe I talked about all the stuff for 2.5 hours. So thank you for joining me tonight as I broke down some of this crazy lawsuit that is happening. Darren is right. Join me on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern for the Good News Show, where I talk about good news and, try to remind people that there's, not all things are bad, which is kind of difficult after this show. So join me there. And I also have a new channel for the Good News Show. It's called Good News Infinite Hope. So please go and subscribe there if you haven't done so. Which Darren is also plugging. So thank you, Darren, for that. And I have a gaming channel as well, which I'm planning on playing more games on as soon as my life becomes a little bit more normal. Excuse me. That water went down the wrong pipe. Also, I just noticed that I still have my Christmas hat on for my avatar. I gotta change that. But anyways, make sure you subscribe to my channels. And thank you for the 100 like hype. Thank you guys for smashing that like and hanging out with me tonight. It's been fun. Thank you so much, Nomad. See you later. Thank you for being here on Rumble. No, I've just been going through a lot of stuff, Holocron and IRL stuff. So when my life becomes a little normal, I'll start gaming again and uploading videos and doing more stuff. Just personal stuff. Anyways, thank you guys, and special thanks to those who super chatted and all the good stuff. So thank you again, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.